Miss Eyes. What's going on?
You're good. All right, Mega Moms, good morning. I have Miss Ashley Candler with us today. I'm so excited to talk to Ashley. And everyone that's watching right now, I'm sure you know, but this is Real Estate Mega Moms, and we help moms create a life and a business that they love by helping them learn to leverage systems, software, and support. So Ashley has actually made a big change. So this is our announcement podcast. Ashley has decided to move her team, the Unicorn Realtor, over to EXP in our downline here. And Ashley, I'm just so excited to talk to you about your business. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ashley, there in Colorado.
I'm a solo agent. I do have a showing partner from my previous brokerage that we're still working very well together. And it came down to, like, my old brokerage didn't do anything wrong. It just, I came there for certain reasons 3.5 years ago. And then I had to take a step back and look at, with the market shifting, when business is good, nobody's thinking about splits and caps and the money going out. But I had to take a step back and look at the numbers really hard and realize how much money I was giving to my brokerage and having to sit down and go, okay, how am I getting this much value out of it? Like, what things are they offering that I'm actually using, and what things are they offering that I'm not using? And knowing myself and my habits, like, I will never use that. Like, so do I continue paying for something that I'm never going to use? So I was with Coldwell Banker happily for 3 years. I still love all the tribe over there. I still have several friends I collaborate with over there. And I even love my managing broker over there still. Like, I miss conversations with him because we talked all the time. But it came down to, and what I told him, I said, it comes down to being a good steward of the money that I am making. Yes, I'm making phenomenal money. I do over 40 units a year, over 500 GCIs. So I feel like I have a very strong business. But some of the things that I was getting from my other brokerage, it felt like, oh, they're awarding me this and they're giving me that. And it's like, well, based on how much I made them, I pretty much paid for that myself and for everybody else. Like,
Right.
it came down like, well, this is, I love this treat that they give me in this, this event or whatever, but can I go do that with my husband by myself? Like, yes, it feels good to have that pat on the back. It feels good. I was always in the top 2 or 3 in that brokerage. I was top 10 in the state within that brokerage. So, I mean, that felt good. And some of it had to be letting a little bit of my pride go. Because even though I love words of affirmation and know being awarded for doing good, I had to think about my kids. Like, my kids don't care what number I am. Like, they don't.
Well, and you're still going to be. So you were saying you were number 10 in the state for Coldwell Banker. That's what you
Yes.
mean. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. And I think that that's a culture shock that a lot of agents go through when they come to EXP. And I also think it's really good. So
Yeah.
most of the agents that I get to work with are top producers like Ashley. I get to work with team leaders. And I know you said you're a solo agent, and you are a solo agent, but you also kind of run a micro team model. So
Yes.
but anyway, and so I get to work with these amazing agents across the country, and sometimes they're in these small brokerages, and they're like the big fish, right?
Right.
They're the one that everyone comes to and asks, how do I do this? I love your business, and this is awesome. And that's great for a little while, but if you want to take it to the next level and level up, being part of a bigger ocean, so to speak.
Yes.
Like now I'm like a little guppy, right?
Right.
My business, I'm number one in my market, but in my brokerage, I'm constantly challenged, and, I'm leveling up because I get to emulate other people's business models. So that I love that about
Yeah.
EX.
And that was another factor for me as I took a look at it. It's like, it feels good being a top fish in my office and people looking up to you. But at the same time, I had to look at who else was above me in the business that I admired and wanted to emulate their business. And there wasn't anybody. Not that their business, there wasn't anything wrong with their business. It just wasn't a model I wanted to follow. So I felt like I don't really have anything left to learn or be challenged here. I feel like people reaching up to me for support, but I still feel like I need a lot of support. And rather than being that big fish, it's about being in rooms with other people, even if it's virtual rooms. It's about rubbing elbows and learning from people bigger than you. And it really came down to whose businesses do I want to emulate. And I've been following Real Estate Mega Moms for almost since the very beginning of my real estate career, and just the bonds that I've created with you ladies. And I've been to every conference except for one because of COVID. And it was just taking that step back of like, I want a business like Jessica. I want a business like Stephanie and Randy. And you ladies have poured into me for the last 6 years without ever that pressure of wanting to be like, obviously I knew you wanted me part of your crew and to come on board, but I never felt that pressure. But you constantly
Yeah.
poured into me without that expectation. And I mean, when I went to the retreat in October, I felt like my mind was kind of shut down from like, okay, I'm never gonna make this move. But that would have been the best time to, because I had no business for 3 months. It would have been so easy to transition over, but my heart just wasn't in the right place. And
Right.
then my heart started trying to was shifting a little bit, and I was starting to look at the money. And I mean, it came down to $60,000 a year I was paying
Yeah.
brokerage if I was going to keep doing that same volume. I did the math. I'm like, okay, if I do this until I'm 55, 56 years old, I will pay them $1 million.
Yeah.
And that money belongs to my kids.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
And I think most top producers, if they're, a lot of times you're so busy running your business, you're not looking at the bottom line. You're not really
right.
looking at like, what is this costing me? And also just being comfortable. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different factors that go
Right.
into why people choose different companies. But I would say if you are doing the volume like Ashley's talking about, 40 plus units, it's something worth it to look at a cloud brokerage model and also a model that's so collaborative like EXP and specifically our downline with Real Estate Mega Moms.
Yep.
So we wanted to definitely talk about that today, but we also want to talk about some things that are going on in the market. We want to bring some value to the ones that are watching. So Ashley, you are dubbed by your clients the Unicorn Realtor, which I adore. I love it. And so, Ashley, what is it that you do that's unique, and how do you think you got that name?
Something that I've still kind of been working on and have had been working on embracing, because I honestly didn't think I was doing anything special. I was just loving on my clients. I just wanted to create a great experience for them. But they kept coming to me and telling me, you've ruined me for any other realtor, or, you know, they would just pour compliments out. I'm like, well, this is what agents are supposed to be doing. But the longer I've been in the business, I've realized that agents don't always do what they're supposed to do. And I just, I don't know, it's the experience for me, and I'm really, really passionate about it. And I'm really passionate about making it a wonderful experience for my clients. And through the last market, I figured out ways to get clients homes that couldn't have gotten homes otherwise, found homes off market, found unicorn houses that like, oh, how are we going to find a house with all those boxes checked? And it just kind of started off as a little bit of a joke, and it kind of snowballed. I had people starting to just send me unicorn things that they would see, and like, I saw this and thought of you. And then I'd have other agents sending me things that were like, I saw this unicorn thing and thought of you. And I'm like, well, I can't really ignore this anymore. It's a it it's an icon that,
Mm.
like, I can't decide I want to be something else, because
I
it's
just,
become,
it's your trademark. I
yeah,
mean,
it's become my trademark. So I just decided, you know what? I may not think I'm doing anything special, but clearly my clients do, and that's what matters. And so I'm going to embrace that and run with it and build a whole brand around it. And it's been super fun. And And I'm still like trying to dial in, like, what is that Ashley experience? Because I I don't know how to express like, oh yeah, I do this and this and this and this. I just feel like I just love on my people, but
Well, that
makes
was
them
my
impact.
question. That was going to be my question. So let's see if we can, maybe we can document this now. So if you will give us kind of what are some typical things that you do? Let's just start with a buyer. We'll just focus on buyers today. So a buyer comes in, they call you, let's say they're coming into your business somehow. From that moment, how do you make them feel special? And what's just some kind of consistent things that you're doing throughout the process?
Some of the questions that I ask my clients is that I tell them that I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. It's going to sound like I'm being very invasive, but it's really important to me to understand what is most important to you, because we're not just looking for a roof and windows and walls. Like, we're looking for a home. And the more I know you and understand you, the better I can serve you. So we're going to talk about, yeah, how many bedrooms do you need? We're going to talk about how do you use those bedrooms? We're going to talk about how you use those spaces in your home, and where do you spend the most time with your family, and what are your hobbies, and getting into the nitty-gritty of not just house but home. And so that when we find something that meets that need, and maybe it's out of their comfort zone originally, we're going to come back to those grounding pieces of, this is your why, coming back to their why. So it's not about me. And I tell them, I said, I'm going to ask you hard questions because I want you to feel confident in the decision that you make. So it may even sound like sometimes I'm trying to talk a client out of a home, because I'm circling back to their why and helping them not be distracted by the ooh shiny and things like that.
I love that because I know, especially in a seller's market, a lot of times buyers were settling for
yeah.
like, I'm just tired of looking, so I'll accept this, even though this is the primary reason I wanted to move.
You're right. And so, I mean, even this the weekend, I was talking with a client, and this is her first time buying. We found some things in the inspection report that were kind of like, I knew as a first time home buyer would probably feel really daunting, even though I've seen it over and over again. So I wanted to make sure I took the time to talk to her about it, see where she's feeling, validate her feelings, and then help her either overcome, like, hey, how can we solve this and still, do you still love the house and feel like it's a good investment, versus a salesperson trying to talk her into something. So it's about asking questions so that they can come to the conclusion, not feeling like they were dragged to that conclusion.
Do you feel like you have to remind people of their wants and needs when they want to look at houses? Like, are you ever kind of stern and say, no, you said you wanted a 4 bedroom and this is a 3 and it doesn't even have a flex space. So this is not going to be a good use of our time.
Yes and no. It depends on if they're just kind of excited to see homes. And it's getting excessive, or it's more about, I will point those things out, like, hey, you guys said that 2 full bathrooms was really important, but this one only has half. How do you feel about that? And if they say, oh, I can deal with that because it has XYZ, then they've already formulated in their mind, and then yeah, it's worth going and seeing. I like to bring those things back to their attention so they know, hey, we've had this conversation, and that way if there's buyer's remorse, it's we've talked about it, and
Yeah.
it's come back to, well, you convinced me to buy this home. I always want it to be, they're they're guided and empowered to make their own decisions, and they felt like they were led to that decision on their own, not again dragged.
Right. Not a, you weren't selling them.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so one of the things with this other buyer is we found a bunch of electrical things, and we found foundation stuff, which they did disclose. But I told her, I said, our inspection termination deadline is Monday, but I really want you to be able to talk to the people who are doing this foundation work, and be able to even talk to an electrician, because all of this says fire hazard, fire hazard, fire hazard. Some of it in my brain, I know that these are easily remedied, but I know for you, it's overwhelming. So let's talk to an electrician so you can feel comfortable with, hey, if the sellers refuse to fix these things, you know what you're getting into and you're comfortable with with that. And she was just like, wow, like I didn't even know I could do that. And thank you. Like I thought I was going to have to find all these people to talk to. I'm like, no, that's what I'm here for. I want to give you the resources you need so you can make the best decision for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that, you're really leaning into the advisory aspect of being a realtor, right? And you're making sure that you're putting yourself in their position and trying to give them solutions. And I do believe, and I think that some of that comes with experience and, a certain number of transactions. I think it is probably a harder role for a newer agent to play. For example, I have a client right now that they were told they had to sell their home and in order to buy, and it's looking like the contract with their current home is not going to work out, and they don't want to lose the home they're in a contract with. And so I got on the speaker with the phone on speakerphone with my client, and we talked to their lender, and I'm like, but what about this, and did you check this, and what's the path for this? And long story short, after about a 10-minute phone call, we were able to get them approved, or at least a path to approval without selling their house,
Yep.
and which was their goal in the first place. And I think that those are the kind of things that we bring to the table as realtors. We know what questions to ask, we know how to challenge, and when to not take no for an answer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Ashley, beyond being an advisor, I can see you doing some little things that like make the home buying experience really exciting. I know you do the pot pies, and we can talk about that kind of the end of your process, but are you like bringing water bottles and like bringing color sheets for the kids, or what do you do anything special throughout the home search process?
Um, Gosh, a lot of my clients are virtual because I serve a lot of military families. So I do, if they're in person, yeah, I brought the snacks and I brought the water bottles, and I make sure I bring a nice folder of, all homes that we're going to see with a pin and an itinerary so we know where we're going next in case we get separated by traffic. And so they've got that all dialed in. And they are always super appreciative of that. If they have kids coming with us, yeah, I brought snacks and water bottles and things like that. But I do so much virtual, and I help people manage those expectations up front. And I tell them, like, you don't have to buy a home virtually, but this is what I specialize in. And this is why I do it. Because I serve a lot of military families coming in from out of state who want to move from one home to another. But then at the same time, you have family vacations, you have work. Like, I don't want my clients missing out on a home because of your schedule. Like, you're not going to miss out on anything because you have a life to live. I'm going to make sure you see all the homes you need to see, and you can enjoy your vacation and still secure that home. And I've had lots of families do that where they start like, oh, I could never buy a home sight unseen. And then once I send them an example of a virtual video tour that I do, and then we just kind of talk through the process a little bit more. And then they're in love with the virtual process because they don't have to take half a day off work to go see a house that's, oh, this is a dump.
Right. No, I love that. So do you do the 360? Do you have the 360 camera?
I used to do the 360, but it just seemed like the upload process was so much longer for that. And once the iPhone like 12 and came out, the camera is so good on my iPhone.
And you can do that wide angle lens now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I turn it sideways and I zoom out so they can give perspective. I take a digital measuring tape with me. So I'm measuring the room so that your perspective's not thrown off because of the zoom. So I'm measuring, this is how big the garage is. This is how big this space is, and giving all of that perspective, and not doing an inspection, but like I'll walk under the deck and be like, okay, I see a rotten board. And so I'm very, very thorough. I'm going to tell them what I see, smell, hear. If it backs up to a noisy road, I'm going to stand outside and let them hear cars drive by. So they're aware of that, because I just don't want there to be any surprises. And now with my showing partner, I've her trained on it as well. And I've taught her how, like, these are the VA conditions that commonly get called out. So look for these things as well. But then I'm not going to every showing now, but I'm still seeing the house because we do
Right.
a group chat and she drops the video in there. So I'm,
Ashley, I think we need to do a training in the inner circle because you're part of the inner circle. Maybe you can do a training for our group on how to do a virtual showing.
oh, That's a good idea.
I mean, because some of those things that you're saying right now, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I never really thought about doing the measurements. I do bomb typically for like our walkthroughs, and my showing agent will do walkthroughs for us, like virtual tours. But I think there's so many things that you just mentioned and like your experience that anyway, that'd be fun. So let's plan on that.
Okay.
Okay, so virtual showings is something that's different that you provide, and kind of shout out to virtual showings. I know there's a lot of agents that do it now, but I think it really control you. It helps you control your schedule too,
Yeah,
right?
it does. Well, and also having a video tour of your listing, describing, pointing out all the highlights and everything. There's been times where I have a video of the listing and either the showing couldn't happen when they wanted, or the kids got, the buyer's kids got sick and had to cancel, but they still really wanted to see it. I can send that video and they can go, oh yeah, we're still really interested in seeing it. Or, you know what, this piece didn't work out. We're going to cancel our showing. And it's like, okay, now my clients didn't have to scramble to get their house ready for a showing that was going to last 30 seconds because XYZ wasn't a right fit.
Yeah, I love that. So once you go under contract, is there anything special you do at that point?
I do. I do let my transaction coordinator help with a lot, but I'm still super hands-on and it probably annoys her. But I mean, I ask my clients, do you have a preferred insurance person or would you like me to connect with my broker? And I have a great referral agent or partner in insurance, and I will type up a group email introducing them, letting the agent know, these are the things that you need for the loan. This is who the lender is. The roof is this old. Here's the permit history. And I'll get a screenshot of the permit history and the MLS information so that the buyers have everything they need and they're already copied to the insurance agent so they can get that insurance piece in place. And a lot of people don't know, like, well, is it a wood frame? What's the shingle type? What's the window type? So providing all of that and kind of anticipating that need so they can get that piece in place is big.
Yeah, I love that.
I have several inspectors that I work with, and I ask my clients, would you like a list and you like to talk to them, or would you like to use the one that I use the most frequently? Especially when I know there may be multiple offers or we want to try and get tight deadlines in, I will kind of pre-schedule my inspector and say, hey, we're offering you this, and I have an inspector on standby for tomorrow morning if you accept our offer. So it's kind of assume the win and pre-game everything. So
I love that. That's a good strategy. Well, I know that there was lots of things we could talk about regarding buyers and how you're winning. Is there any maybe like we have about 5 minutes left. Is there any advice you have for the agents that are watching right now? How can they win with buyers in today's market?
yes, I mean, it's really about educating people and being educated yourself. I know there's a lot of chatter about the 2-1 buy down program, but not everybody understands it. Like if you can understand this program and you have a good lender who's going to execute it, it's huge. I just secured a house this weekend for some clients, and I mean we're pushing the envelope a little bit. It was on the market one day. Lots of showings were happening that day, but I wanted my clients to secure it, and I told them, I said, okay, I know you guys are comfortable with this, this purchase price and this payment. However, if we can get them to pay for a 2-1 buy down, it's a huge advantage to you. And so we actually went over asking to offset asking for $12,000 in seller concessions. But I mean, it's a savings of over $600 a month for my clients in their first year, and then like $350 a month in their second year. And we all are anticipating rates coming down. So it's explaining to my clients, like, you really can't lose in this situation because if he doesn't accept our offer with the concessions, you feel comfortable. But if we do, then you just had a huge amount of savings. And if rates drop next year to a level you want to refinance at, you get to take that lump of money that's left over and just put it towards the principal of your house. Like, you can't lose in this situation.
Ah,
So it's but having a lender too that's willing to do it, and they're working with a lender that he's great. I didn't recommend him, but I talked about the 2-1 buy down program with him. He's like, yeah, we can do it. But then when it came down to it, submitting an offer on another house, he was like, yeah, well, I haven't done one in about a year. I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean they're not useful. Like, I don't care if you don't want to do the calculations. This is what's best for the client. So figure it out, or I'm going to suggest they find a lender who's gonna do the 2-1 buy down. So just being educated. I tell my clients, like, I know enough to be dangerous. I love all the numbers and stuff like that with everything. So, learn what loan products are out there to help your clients win right now. And don't be afraid to submit those crazy offers. I mean, I've gotten, and it might mean going a little over asking to offset it, but it's a same net to seller, whether you ask for 15,000 off the price or 15,000 in closing cost concessions paid.
Right.
And it's a huge difference to the buyer, like huge, like a third of a mortgage payment.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing.
like,
Yeah,
clients are just winning right now. I in the last market, the gal that I have under contract right now, we got her on an FHA loan, down payment assistance, $7,000 in closing costs paid. She only has to bring $1,000 of her own money to it. And in the last market, people were bringing appraisal gaps and having to cover their own closing costs. And so the opportunity for someone who never thought she could buy a home, she's getting into a home for $1,000 in the cost of an inspection.
it's like
So
buyers, here's your chance, right?
yes, exactly. Like, now is the opportunity, because when the rates go down, all the people who are on the fence are popping off that fence.
I think I saw you post on TikTok or somewhere like the analogy of the person running. Wasn't
Yes.
that
Yes,
you?
yes, it
So
was.
describe that to everyone.
It's a perfect visual. It's a guy running down a street by himself, and it says 7% interest rate. And then you see it go 6.5%. Another guy comes in running next to him, goes to 6%. Another guy comes in, and it just, as the rate slowly drops, you see all these people running in. And then that guy who was casually jogging along, taking his time, is now sprinting at the speed of light, trying to keep up with all these other buyers. Like, you don't want to be in that position as a buyer. I know the
Yeah.
interest rates are terrible and affordability is super hard. So don't buy something you can't afford. Buy something within your comfortable payment. But, like, the opportunity right now is huge for clients. And it's
Yeah.
tricky because now I'm getting a lot of listings because all my buyers are turning into sellers. And, in the last market, I learned how to grind and do whatever I had to do to get my buyers under contract. And now I'm having to hone a new skill as a listing agent and managing those expectations. And, you're used to home selling in the first weekend, and it's like, okay, it's been 2 weeks. Now what do I do? Like, and you don't want
Right.
to, typically it's okay if it's been stale for a while, we do a price adjustment, but it's like, do you do a price adjustment when there's plenty of comps to support it? Like, I'm still.
Well, and for those that aren't part of the inner circle, I am talking about that this month. I actually looked at my numbers, Ashley, and I listed over 300 homes in the last 5 years.
Wow.
So, and my market's typically a buyer's market in my market. We've kind of creeped into a seller's market, but it's not a strong seller's market. It's never been. And so we've had to have lots of those hard conversations. And my solution for this, Ashley, would be to just really keep your eye on the market. Tomorrow, I'm going to share a template for the market update that we're sending to our clients, which is a specific, it's made for them. So it's about their property, and I'm showing where we advertise their property, how many calls we got, how many people saved it on Zillow. I mean, all the stats. But we're also saying, okay, there's this many properties that are similar to yours that are active. There's this many that are pending and this many sold. So then the ones that went pending that week and their house didn't go pending, we're able to say, okay, apples to apples, what was the difference?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's conditions. I mean, and sometimes it's just chance, but
Right.
it's good for them to see, okay, no other property in my price range went under contract, so I feel better.
Right.
Or I see that house had a totally updated kitchen and my house didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
it
I'm
gives you a
seeing
little
some
bit.
perfectly good homes sitting on the market, and with how fast paced the market has been in the last couple of years, you immediately go, oh, it's been on there a week. What's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it. And but there's an opportunity for buyers there. But yeah, I mean, it's been trickier for me. I've had a lot of, feeling with a lot of self-doubt because of the transition and trying to, do everything, and then transitioning as primarily a listing agent now, which I'm thankful for. But it's like, okay, what is my protocol? What is my client experience here? Because got the buyer one dialed in. Now it's dialing in.
It's time for a challenge and leveling up your business, Ashley, and you're up for it. I know you're going to exceed your own expectations and everyone else's. So, okay, Ashley, if they want to send you business or referrals, those that are watching live, or maybe you're listening to a replay, how can our audience find you?
I'm the Unicorn Realtor. If you Google that usually comes up, but ashleykandler.com is my website. My email is ashley@resonaterealestate.com, and my number is 530-228-8004. And I serve all of Colorado Springs, Pueblo, out east, Calhan, and things like that. But Colorado Springs is kind of my cup of tea. So.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us, Ashley. And welcome to the EXP family.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.